everybody. I am Kristen Hamilton. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Koru. We do predictive hiring. So imagine if you had a number from 1 to 100, which was the prediction of someone's likelihood of performing in the job you were hiring them for. That's predictive hiring. We have customers like Citibank, ZipRecruiter, Guardian Life Insurance, and there is this trend that's occurring where we're moving to a more data-driven world with respect to hiring. Before I get into what we do, I want to share with you, first I'm going to pick this up, that I was in Vegas this weekend. Was anyone else in Vegas this weekend? All right. And I was in the World Left-Handed Arm Wrestling Championships. Didn't go so well for me. Actually, I was there for the Academy of Country Music Awards. Is anyone a country music fan? Me either. But it was awesome. Super, super cool. Felt a lot like this. A lot of cowboy hats. But what's cool about country music is that it's really storytelling with a Southern accent. So rather than it inspired me, actually, to give you some storytelling with a Canadian accent. So this is going to be a story about predictive hiring. There's a few things. First of all, our mission as a company is to level the playing field so that all people have access to opportunity based on what they can do, not just maybe where they were lucky enough to get into school when they were 17 years old. That's the broad mission of the company. We do that by helping companies figure out what drives performance and helping them then hire based on those things from a data-driven point of view. And I'm going to talk about three things in my story. One is the fact that the way that we hire today is the definition of insanity. The second piece is that we need what we call a grit over grades revolution. If you select people based on things like grit when you hire them, instead of things like grades, that you will crack the nut for both performance in your company and also diversity, coincidentally. And then finally, a real life example of artificial intelligence in the hiring, as opposed to talking about it. We'll just give you a very specific example of that, all in 7 minutes. Well, 5 minutes and 42 seconds. Okay, if you don't have a Blockbuster and Netflix analogy in your slides, you clearly don't know what you're doing. But there used to be Blockbuster, and now there's Netflix. So you kind of understand, but you used to walk down the aisles and grab anything from the new releases section, and now Netflix has helped us to become better deciders using data. And it's keeping it simple. That's essentially the world of transition going on in recruiting. And it's late, because it's happened to lots of other parts of the organization. So let's take a look at the world of insanity that we have today. Still true, this happens. People walk down the aisles at these career fairs and drop pieces of paper off. And as employers, we stand there. Who here hires people or has hired people, by the way? So you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, for campus recruiting. We work with Citibank in this area. They typically go to the same 10 colleges, by the way, or 12. And then when you get those pieces of paper, ultimately you look at them, and each recruiter spends about 6 seconds on a piece of paper. Now, it could be electronic. It could be through an ATS, same story. And you look for things like, where did you go to school? Where did you last work? And what was your GPA? Because those are the only things on a resume that are actually measured, and you can use your resume screening software to grab data from that information. And then we do what's called the interview, which is essentially typically an unstructured experience where we confirm the bias that we have that starts in the first 5 minutes of the interview by taking the subsequent 55 minutes to say, you're like me, so I want to hire you. And this is the definition of insanity. So imagine, if you will, a different world. A world where, first of all, you understood and were aligned as a team on what drives performance. So almost every company we work with, everyone who touches the recruiting process has a very different opinion about what is important. So imagine there was consistency there, and you had a stack-ranked list of applicants with a fit score, which is a 1 to 100 fit score around prediction of someone's performance in that job, in that company, because drivers of performance actually vary by company and by job. And then also imagine if those factors were clear to you. In this case, Jack got an 86 because he was high in grit, ownership, and he played a sport, but he was a little bit low in teamwork, and you could see exactly where he was weak and he was strong. So why does this even matter? Well, ultimately, we spend actually a lot more time speaking with talent acquisition executives and business leaders about business outcomes, more so than time to fill right? Ultimately, if talent is the number one thing that people spend money on in organizations, but we are not strategic about how we do it. And so what is your business outcome is obviously always the place to start. Google did a bunch of research. Some of you probably remember when Laszlo did this. And they looked at everyone who ever applied to Google, all their scores. They were obsessed with elite colleges, et cetera. And they learned that things like GPA are absolutely irrelevant to performance. It's things like teamwork, things like having high EQ, the ability to collaborate, the ability to influence others that actually mattered. So this is a pro tip. There's 3 buckets of things that drive performance and should be used in pre-hire interviewing or pre-hire screening. One is your raw intelligence matters to a point. The second is technical skills to do the job. And third is what we call impact skills, also called soft skills or non-cognitive competencies. And this is the area of expertise that we happen to enjoy at Koru. This is what we really know better than anyone else in the world. So we have summarized the skills for success in the innovation economy, which is different than the previous economy. So it's much more important to know what questions to ask than what the answers are. I'm going to run through these really quickly. Grit is everybody's favorite. Angela Duckworth is here, but it's ultimately, we've taken her research and turned it into a non-gameable assessment. Being able to persevere through ambiguity is very important in today's work environments. Rigor is using data to tell stories. Polish is being an authentic communicator. Impact is knowing how to prioritize your time around goals and actually achieve the outcomes that people are hoping that you achieve, so being a systems thinker. Curiosity is the birthplace of creativity, right? Being an empathetic, customer-centric learner. Teamwork is the ability to recognize emotions in others and draw out the best from a diverse team. Remember I said it was going to increase diversity? If you have diversity and not teamwork, you won't have benefits from diversity. And finally, ownership, which is the high owner doesn't complain when things go badly. They actually persevere and continue to be positive. So there is a whole lot of research behind these. We didn't invent them, and there's actually a set of sub-competencies that ladder up to these. But we have uniquely learned how to measure them and how to identify which of these, and also about 450 other potential factors, are critical to performance for a specific role. We use machine learning to create those models, and then we use artificial intelligence to match an individual to the actual jobs. So we did a whole lot of research for salespeople. In the last 30 seconds, I'm going to share with you some exciting results. Okay, so early career salespeople, do you think teamwork is more likely in high performers or low performers? High or low? Teamwork, important, high? Actually, not important for early career BDRs. They're kind of lone sharks. Curiosity, very important, and also rigor. Moving up to account execs. So who thinks grit is a driver of performance? Anyone? Yep. And you're right. And shockingly, polish was not a driver of performance, so being an effective communicator, doing a lot of talking, not necessarily. Teamwork, also a driver of performance. Also, if you've taken a theater class, you're 93% more likely to be a high-performing account executive. Kind of cool, the things that we end up learning. Do you think it's important to have had a bachelor's degree? More likely to be a bachelor's degree to be high-performing? No, in fact, people who have associate's degrees or some college are higher-performing account executives, we found in the research. Now, previous experience. So sales or business development, previous experience for account executives, does it matter? Ooh, doesn't matter. One way or the other was not a driver or a detractor of performance. Having previous experience in customer support was more true in underperformers. Project management experience for the overall group mattered a lot. And then finally, the outcomes. So why do this? If you can increase the percentage of top performers, i.e. quota-hitting salespeople, by 19%, and this is one case study example from one of our customers, they were able to drive almost $7 million in incremental ARR. So predictive hiring pays off. So I'm sorry I didn't have much of a southern twang or singing, but thank you so much for your time. And if anyone here is hiring, knows someone who's hiring and wants to be more strategic and data-driven about it, please feel free to get in touch. Thank you.